Moving into the latter part of 2020, did you have any particular issue arise with a disbursement to Forge that caught your attention?
I did.
Tell me about that if you would, please.
I was currently working from home. I had surgery on Halloween of 2020, and I was working from home, hadn't come back yet. I was planning to come back to the office the following Monday, and on that day, I believe it was December 15th of 2020, I got a phone call from the accounts payable department. Nicole called me, and she's one of the ladies that cuts the checks and works for Jeannie Seckinger, and she told me that she had just got a disbursement sheet over, that Christy had sent over a disbursement sheet in one of my files. It made no sense. She didn't understand it, and I was confused too, because I was like, why didn't he contact me to do my disbursement? Because I'm kind of protective over my files. If I've worked that file the whole time, I want to finish that file. I want to work the whole process of it. And actually the disbursement part is my favorite part of the file, because I want to be able to have that, be there when that client gets their money and gets that closure that they deserve. So I thought it was very odd that Christy was drafting a disbursement in one of my files, and
this was the day you were off work.
That's correct. I was working from home, and I still could have been reached, but I wasn't until Nicole reached out to me and told me.
Keep going.
She told me, so I looked, she sends it to me by email or text, I can't remember, and I reviewed it, and it didn't make sense to me either. There was a line on it that said the attorney fees were going, or amount of it was going to Forge, and I didn't understand how that was happening, and I'd never seen him send attorney fees to Forge before, and so I didn't know that that was even a possibility. And so I called the office, and Christy transferred me to Alec, and I spoke to him and asked him about it, and he said, why did Nicole call you? And I said, well, she doesn't know how to write these checks out, because it doesn't make sense to her. She hasn't ever seen a disbursement like this. And he said, I'll take care of it. And so he said, I'll call Nicole, I'll take care of it. And so I remember talking to Nicole later and say, so what did he say? What was the reason behind it? She said, he said that they can structure their attorney fees, and that's what that check was for.
What if I told you that for over 20 years, a respected attorney from one of South Carolina's most powerful families was systematically stealing millions of dollars from the people who trusted him most? What if I told you that his victims weren't wealthy business owners or corporations, but grieving mothers, paralyzed teenagers, and families destroyed by tragedy? What if I told you he stole from a deaf quadriplegic young man, from the sons of his own housekeeper who had served his family for 25 years, and from his childhood best friend? And what if I told you that when his web of lies finally began to unravel, the betrayal would cut so deep that it would expose not just one man's crimes, but an entire system that failed to protect the most vulnerable? Before we dive deep into one of the most shocking financial crime cases in American history, I need you to do something. Hit that subscribe button right now and turn on notifications. Here on Dark Trail Files, we don't just tell you what happened. We show you the evidence, the court testimony, the real people whose lives were forever changed. We're building a community of truth seekers who aren't afraid to look into the darkest corners of the criminal justice system. This case has layers upon layers of deception that most channels won't show you. We have exclusive court footage, testimony you've never seen, and details that will make your blood run cold. Subscribe now, because the story you're about to hear will change the way you think about trust, power, and justice forever. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. For 87 years, the Murdaugh name meant something in South Carolina's Low Country. It meant power. It meant justice. It meant untouchable. 3 generations of Murdaugh men had served as the 14th Circuit solicitor, controlling prosecutions across 5 counties for nearly a century. They weren't just lawyers. They were the law itself. Alex Murdaugh seemed destined to continue this legacy. As a personal injury attorney at Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltroth, and Dietrich, known simply as PMPD, he built a reputation as a compassionate advocate for the injured and the grieving. People came to him in their darkest hours, after car accidents that left them paralyzed, after losing loved ones to negligence, after their lives had been shattered by forces beyond their control. And Alex Murdaugh promised to help them. He promised to fight for them. He promised to make things right. But behind the compassionate smile and the family legacy was something else entirely. Something dark. Something predatory. Because Alex Murdaugh wasn't just helping these vulnerable people. He was stealing from them. And he had been doing it for over 2 decades. The scheme was brilliant in its simplicity and devastating in its execution. Murdaugh had access to something most criminals could only dream of: complete trust. When clients came to him after accidents or deaths, they were at their most vulnerable. They were in pain, grieving, confused by legal procedures they didn't understand. And there was Alex Murdaugh from the legendary Murdaugh family, telling them he would take care of everything. And he'd take care of everything by taking everything they had. Here's how it worked. Murdaugh would win substantial settlements for his clients through lawsuits. But instead of the money going to the victims, he would manipulate the system at every level. He convinced clients to sign documents they didn't fully understand. He created fake expenses that never existed. He forged signatures. He set up fraudulent bank accounts that mimicked legitimate settlement companies. And perhaps most ingeniously, he recruited others to help him. A banker who would serve as conservator for vulnerable clients. A fellow attorney who would represent victims without telling them about his friendship with Murdaugh. Employees at his own firm who he manipulated into cashing checks. The amounts were staggering. Federal prosecutors would eventually determine that Murdaugh stole approximately $9.3 million from his law firm, his clients, and the government. But that dollar amount doesn't capture the true horror of what he did. Because Alex Murdaugh didn't steal from the wealthy or the powerful. He stole from the most vulnerable people in society. And he did it while looking them in the eye and calling them family. Gloria Satterfield had worked as the Murdaugh family's housekeeper and nanny for 25 years. She wasn't just an employee. She was part of the fabric of their lives. She raised Alex's children. She knew their secrets, their routines, their lives. On February 2nd, 2018, Gloria died after what was described as a trip and fall accident at the Murdaugh home. The family was devastated. Or so it seemed. What happened next reveals the true nature of Alex Murdaugh's character. He approached Gloria's sons, Tony Satterfield and Brian Harriet, with what appeared to be genuine concern and generosity. He told them they should file a wrongful death claim against his own insurance policies. He said he would admit fault to make sure they received a substantial settlement. He even recommended an attorney to represent them, his close friend Cory Fleming, though he never mentioned their decades-long friendship. The sons trusted him. Why wouldn't they? This was the man their mother had devoted 25 years of her life to serving. This was a member of one of the most respected families in South Carolina. This was someone who promised to take care of them the way he had once promised to take care of their mother. Murdaugh's insurance policies paid out over $4 million. A $500,000 policy and a $3.8 million policy. The Satterfield sons were told they might each receive around $100,000. They waited. They trusted. And they never received a single penny. Because Alex Murdaugh had stolen all. Every cent of that $4.3 million went into his own pockets. He used it to pay off his credit card debt, to write checks to himself and his family members, to maintain the lifestyle that was slipping through his fingers. And the Satterfield sons? They discovered what had happened only in 2021, when news coverage of other Murdaugh family tragedies brought their mother's death back into the spotlight. Years later, when Gloria Satterfield's family finally had their day in court, their words would cut through all of Murdaugh's excuses and apologies, revealing the depth of pain caused by his betrayal. This is what justice looks like when victims finally get to speak their truth.
Your Honor, I do have one request. Do you mind if I face that way?
That'd be fine.
Because when I talk to people, I like facing who I'm talking to. Thank you. I really don't have words. You lied. You cheated. You stole. You betrayed me and my family and everybody else. And you did it at a cost of my mom's death, first of all. A couple Octobers ago, you wrote a half-hearted, I'm sorry letter, which was half-hearted because your actions just not followed through that you were really sorry. So So I'm going to read you. I have an apology. I'm sorry that you feel like you had to betray us, steal from us, cheat us, and lie to us. I'm sorry that your family has to now go through what they're going to have to go through the rest of their life because of your actions, of what you did. I want you to know that I forgive you. I will pray for you every day, that God get the hold of your heart. And you may not know the gospel, so I'm going to share it with you. The gospel is the death, the burial, and resurrection of Jesus. That's how people are able to forgive people and able to do right and able to pray for those who hurt them and do things to them. So my heart is with you. My prayers are with you, and I just wish the best for you.
Thank you.
Gloria worked very hard for you for 20 years, you and your family. She loved Buster and Paul as her own. She loved Maggie, and she trusted and loved you wholeheartedly. She considered you and your family as her own family. To have her loyalty and love and trust betrayed by you is very hard for our family to understand. We just will never understand. And how you were able to profit from her death is especially hard for us to understand and cause unimaginable hurt to our family. The fact that if only you had given Tony and Brian just a very small portion of the money you stole from them, they would have appreciated it and been very happy while thinking that you had kept your word, done your legal duty, and looked out for them and their best interest. Instead, you chose to break the law that you had sworn to uphold, be greedy, and look out for your own best interest. Alec, in time, the wrong you did to so many people may be forgotten, but in hopes that Gloria and her pure heart, full of kindness and love, will not be forgotten, we started the Gloria's Gift Foundation in honor of Gloria and her memory by providing gifts to some needy children during Christmas so that Gloria will be remembered forever. And my heart goes out not only to my family, but today to hear all these families that you did wrong by. Those children that you stole from, everything. They lost a mother, and you stole every dime from them. I just don't understand. Did you not have a soul? I don't get it, Alec. I can't understand it. And I thank God maybe that I don't understand it. Because then I might be in the same situation as you. I just don't get it. And I guess I never will get it. So hopefully God will forgive you because you're going to need forgiveness. I just don't know. I'm lost for words, Alec. You are not the person that I thought I knew. And you come from a good family, but you wasted your life. And I hate you did your family the way you did, because you do come from a good family. And I'm sorry you threw your life away. Thank you, Judge, for allowing me to address.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
And thank you for the state for everything y'all did for us to find justice.
That's on behalf of the Satterfields.
Thank you.
In December 2021, Alex Murdaugh finally signed a confession of judgment, admitting he stole the $4.3 million that belonged to Gloria Satterfield's estate. But by then, the damage was done. The Satterfield family had spent years believing they simply weren't entitled to any money, never knowing that millions of dollars had been stolen right from under them by the man they trusted most. But Gloria Satterfield's sons weren't Alex Murdaugh's only victims. Not even close. And some of the people he stole from were suffering in ways that would make your heart break. I'm talking about people who couldn't speak for themselves, people who couldn't fight back, people whose very disabilities made them perfect targets for Murdaugh's predatory schemes. What you're about to hear is perhaps the most heartbreaking case of all. A story of a young man whose life was already devastated by tragedy, and then Alex Murdaugh made it so much worse. On August 22nd, 2009, Pamela Pinckney was driving her SUV on Interstate 95 in South Carolina's Low Country. She was headed to a Family Dollar store for milk. Just a routine errand on an ordinary day. With her were her daughter Shaquara, her niece Natasha Thomas, and her 19-year-old son Hakeem. Then, without warning, the left rear tire tread separated, causing the vehicle to swerve out of control and flip multiple times. When the chaos finally stopped, Pamela had 2 broken ankles and broken bones at her knee, thigh, shoulder, and neck. Her daughter suffered scratches. Her niece had a facial injury. But Hakeem had been thrown from the vehicle and landed on his head. The spinal cord injury was catastrophic. After surgery, this vibrant young man who had been a linebacker on the football team at the South Carolina School for the Deaf and Blind was now a quadriplegic, dependent on a ventilator to breathe. Hakeem had been deaf since age 3, but he had never let that define him. He was an athlete, recognized by the South Carolina Senate for winning the National Deaf Football Championship. He communicated through sign language, reading lips, and using a dry erase board. He had his whole life ahead of him, and now that life would be spent in a nursing home, unable to move, unable to breathe without a machine. When the Pinckney family sought legal representation, they were referred to Peters, Murdaugh, Parker, Eltroth, and Dietrich, the Murdaugh family firm that had been a pillar of the legal community since 1910. Alex Murdaugh visited Pamela Pinckney in the hospital as she recovered from her own injuries. He gave her hope that they had a strong case. He seemed like a real nice guy, she would later recall. Very respectful, very well-mannered. Mr. Alex Murdaugh told me and my entire Pinckney family that he has our best interests. We don't have anything to worry about, and we're like family to him. Once again, the word family. Once again, the promise of protection. In April 2010, the Pinckneys filed a lawsuit against the tire manufacturer seeking damages for Hakeem's catastrophic injuries. Pamela wanted a swift resolution so she could move her son out of the nursing facility and into a handicap-accessible home with a ventilator where he could be more comfortable. She trusted Alex Murdaugh to make this happen. But Murdaugh had other plans. He sent Pamela to his friend Cory Fleming to represent her interests. Again, never mentioning their close friendship. Then he convinced Pamela that she needed a banker to handle the financial aspects of the lawsuit. He appointed Russell Laffitte, CEO of Palmetto State Bank and another friend of Murdaugh's, as conservator over both Pamela and Hakeem's cases. Do you see the pattern? Every single person involved in handling the Pinckney family's money was someone Alex Murdaugh had carefully positioned. The attorney, the banker, the conservator. All of them were his people. The Pinckneys were surrounded by what they thought were professionals looking out for their interests. In reality, they were surrounded by Alex Murdaugh's co-conspirators. The tire company eventually settled. The Pinckneys should have received over $1 million to help care for Hakeem and compensate the family for their injuries. Instead, checks were written from Murdaugh's law firm directly to Palmetto State Bank, where Russell Laffitte worked. According to indictments, Murdaugh used a $309,581 check that was supposed to be part of Hakeem Pinckney's settlement funds to purchase a money order payable to a family member. The rest of the money simply disappeared. Around $1 million that was meant to help a deaf quadriplegic young man and his injured family vanished into Alex Murdaugh's accounts. Some of it was withdrawn as money orders. Some went to paying off Murdaugh's debts. But none of it, not one single dollar, went to the family that had suffered so much. And then, in October 2011, tragedy struck again. Hakeem Pinckney's ventilator was mysteriously unplugged at the nursing home. He was 21 years old. His attorney, Justin Bamberg, would later point out the cruel irony. Here was this deaf, quadriplegic young man, unable to speak, unable to move, unable to defend himself. And even after he died, they stole his money. But it didn't end there. In 2014, when Pamela Pinckney hired an attorney from Murdaugh's own firm to file a wrongful death lawsuit against the nursing home, Alex Murdaugh inserted himself into that case too. His office staff prepared all the documentation. And once again, when money from that settlement came through, it disappeared. According to attorney Justin Bamberg, between 2011 and 2017, approximately $1 million that should have gone to the Pinckney family was stolen by Alex Murdaugh and his conspirators. Pamela Pinckney would later testify at Murdaugh's sentencing. She spoke of the pain, the suffering, the anxiety, and the depression that his theft had caused. She hadn't forgotten. She hadn't forgiven. And she wanted justice. Not just for herself, but for her son who could no longer speak for himself. Arthur Badger lost his wife Donna in a 2011 vehicle crash. She was killed by a UPS truck that crossed the center line, leaving their 6 children without a mother. When Arthur came to Alex Murdaugh for help, he was a grieving widower trying to figure out how to provide for his children. Murdaugh won him a substantial settlement, and then Murdaugh stole $1.3 million of it. Dion Martin was injured in a car crash. He hired Alex Murdaugh, trusted him to fight for compensation for his injuries. Murdaugh stole $500,000 from him. There were 2 young girls whose mother had died in a car crash. They had a trust fund meant to care for them after this unimaginable loss. Alex Murdaugh admitted to taking $1 million from these grieving children as a so-called loan, without their knowledge, without their permission, without any intention of paying it back. The testimony of Michael Satterfield in court would provide crucial details about how the Murdaugh family's manipulation extended beyond just financial theft. It was about stealing dignity, stealing trust, and stealing hope from families who had already lost so much.
I believe it was a true accident, but he took full advantage of the family afterward.
Who was your mother?
Gloria Satterfield.
Gloria Satterfield?
Yes.
And is Gloria still with us?
She's not.
And when did she pass?
February 26, 2018.
2018?
Yes, sir.
And who did she work for when she passed?
Alex and Maggie Murdaugh.
Okay. And do you know Alex Murdaugh?
I do.
Do you see him here in the courtroom today?
I do.
Can you point him out?
Yes, right there.
In the course of that, you got to know Alec and his family to some extent as well?
Yes.
Did you trust Mr. Murdaugh?
Yes.
What happened to your mom?
She fell and hit her head.
And where was she when that happened?
She was at Alice's house in Moselle.
At Moselle?
Yes.
Did she pass right away, or did she live for a while?
She lived for a few weeks.
Was she ever able to say to you what happened, how she felt or anything?
No, she was not.
After she passed, did you have any conversation with Alec about what to do about her?
I did.
And what was the conversation you had with Alec?
I barely remember, but it's like, let me go out to my insurance company for this or whatever, kind of get his medical bills and stuff paid.
Okay. So he said he was going to go after his insurance company?
Yes.
And get medical bills for your mom paid?
Yes.
Did he say he might get money for you and your brother?
Yes.
Did he tell you anything more about his relationship with Cory Fleming?
No.
After he brought in Cory Fleming, were you still communicating directly with Alec about the case?
Yes.
Who did you think your lawyer was?
Alex.
As time went on, did you have conversations with Alec asking him about the case and what was going on with the case or anything like that?
Yes. Not very rarely, but every few months or so.
All right. And what would he tell you just generally over
first it was hard-hearted, like it was making progress, and they kind of left it at that.
He said it was hard, but they were making progress?
Yes.
Did he tell you anything about whether or not you and your brother were going to get any money? The medical bills were paid?
Said he was hoping.
Did he give you any idea of the amount?
If I remember correctly, one time he said try to get each of you at least $100,000 a piece.
Each of you, you and your brother?
Yes.
Okay. At some point in time, did your family advise you that there was some media reporting about a settlement in the case?
Yes.
All right. And at that time, had you heard anything from Alec or Cory or Chad or anybody about a settlement in the case?
No.
All right. And what, if anything, did you do after your family? Did they ask you to do anything?
Yeah, they said you might want to kind of follow up on it and kind of see.
And did you make a phone call to Alec?
Yes.
All right. And what month was that in?
I believe the last time I talked to him was in June of 21.
June of 21?
Yes.
Around the time of the murders?
Yes.
And what did you ask him?
I can't believe what I asked him, but it was still making progress and be ready to settle, by the end of the year.
He told you it was still making progress and he was hoping to settle by the end of the year?
Yes.
Did he tell you that they had already gotten a settlement for $505,000?
No.
Did he tell you that they had already gotten a settlement for $3.8 million?
No.
The methods were always similar. Murdaugh would draft disbursement sheets, sending settlement funds to his own bank accounts without proper disclosure. He would claim funds held in the law firm's trust account as attorney's fees without authorization. He created fake expenses that were never incurred. Medical expenses, construction expenses, airline expenses, all fabricated to justify taking money. He would direct other attorneys working with him on cases to disburse attorneys' fees directly to him instead of routing them through the law firm. And in one of his most brazen schemes, he intercepted insurance proceeds intended for beneficiaries and deposited them directly into his personal account. But perhaps the most sophisticated part of his scheme involved creating a fraudulent bank account. He set it up to mimic a legitimate settlement company called Forge Consulting. When his law firm sent checks to what they thought was Forge Consulting, the money actually went into Alex Murdaugh's fake account at Bank of America. It was a brilliant deception. His own partners thought they were following proper procedures while Alex was robbing them blind. One of the most emotional moments in the entire case came when Alex Murdaugh's best friend of over 30 years took the stand. Chris Wilson's testimony would reveal that not even decades of friendship could protect someone from Murdaugh's schemes. Watch as the full weight of the betrayal becomes clear.
I was asleep. My phone's always kind of sit beside the bed. I could hear it buzzing, but I really wasn't paying any attention. My wife comes in kind of, just hysterical. She says, "You got to wake up, you got to wake up." And I don't remember if she was on the phone with Randy's wife or Randy himself. She's trying to tell me what's going on, and I'm looking at my phone, and I've got a text from a person I knew in Hampton that's texting me saying, "Hey, give me a call. I got to tell you something before you hear it somewhere else." It was a person that was in the county government down there that I knew that was just trying to get word to me before I heard it somewhere else. My wife, I don't think I respond to that person or her text immediately. My wife is telling me what's going on. I just told her, I said, I'll get some clothes. I got to go to Moselle. We started trying to call our daughter right at about 11 o'clock. Started trying to call our children, tell them what was going on. I don't even know how much my wife and I spoke about it. I mean, she knew I was leaving. I got in the car, went straight to Moselle, grabbed some clothes and went straight to Moselle.
How long does that take?
From Columbia, about an hour and 40 minutes or so. I mean, I called some different people on the way that I thought needed to know. I mean, repeatedly tried to call my daughter. She was extremely close. She is and was extremely close to Buster and Paul. And, we couldn't get her to answer, called her boyfriend, just repeatedly calling her.
Throughout all of this, Murdaugh later claimed his actions were driven by a 20-year addiction to opioids. But here's where his story gets even stranger. While most people understand opioid addiction as something that impairs judgment and causes drowsiness, Alex Murdaugh would make a claim in court that would strain credibility and raise serious questions about his entire defense strategy. Listen to this.
If I took 30, if I had 30 milligram pills, you figure 100 pills would be 3,000 milligrams.
100?
100.
So you're taking 60 a day or something like that?
There were days where I took more than that. There were days I took less than that.
And how would you take them during the course of the day? I mean, how many are you taking at one time? How frequent in this time period, let's say January to June?
there's a point in time, and I'm not sure when it was, I think it was well before that, where, and you have to understand this. This is something that I can still remember the first time I ever took an OxyContin.
Murdaugh, can I ask you to answer my question, and I'll let you explain all you want. And my question was, how many were you taking a day during this time from January to June? Answer that first, please, and if you want to explain, I'm happy to let you do so.
I'm not positive, and here's why. It's because over the years, like as I was saying, the first OxyContin, one OxyContin literally made me sick. And that was when I was transitioning from hydrocodone to oxycodone. And it made me sick because it was a really strong one. And so, one OxyContin pill was like 10 hydrocodone pills. So, but anyway, as I took more and more, and over the years, it just, you build up a tolerance to pain pills. And so what might give me this energy, one of the reasons I became so addicted is, some people talk about pain pills and how they make them lethargic and, where they can't do anything and they feel. Opiates gave me energy. I mean, whatever I was doing, it made it more interesting. It made me want to do it longer. To go on a drive, it made driving. It just at the beginning, it made everything better.
While most people understand opioid addiction as something that impairs judgment and causes drowsiness, Alex Murdaugh testified in court that opiates gave him energy. He claimed the drugs helped him function, helped him work, helped him maintain the elaborate facade of success while his world crumbled around him. Federal prosecutors weren't buying it. They pointed out that even with his claims of addiction, over $6 million remained unaccounted for. If all the money went to drugs, as Murdaugh claimed, where did those $6 million go? The math simply didn't add up. In U.S. District Court, Judge Richard Gergel would later state explicitly that no truly impaired person could have pulled off the complexity of some of these transactions. But as devastating as all of these thefts were, there was one moment that would expose everything. One confrontation that would finally bring Alex Murdaugh's house of cards crashing down. And it would happen on a day that would change everything. June 7th, 2021. On the morning of June 7th, 2021, Jean Seckinger, the chief financial officer at PMPED, would confront Alex Murdaugh about missing funds. She had no idea that this conversation would set in motion a series of events that would expose 2 decades of theft. Her testimony would prove crucial in understanding the timeline of that fateful day.
Once the murders happened, it didn't seem right to be raising those issues with the defendant then, did it?
No, it didn't.
I'll lead the witness.
After the murders happened, did it seem right to you to raise those issues to the defendant?
No, as I stated earlier, we were concerned about the welfare of Alec and the feelings of himself. He was not at work, and we were trying to make sure that he was emotionally okay and able to deal with things before we pressured him about anything.
And then just a few weeks later, and still in, just in July, he's still in shock from all of these murders?
Yes.
And did ultimately you get an email from Chris Wilson?
I did on July 19th.
And what did that email say?
Chris said that he had the money in the trust available to us.
He's got the money, so no big deal, correct?
Correct.
Did you still, though, in the back of your mind, have some suspicions going back for a while?
I had suspicions that I didn't really believe that because I'd yet to see the ledger or the proof, and it seemed like there was no reason not to send that to me if something wasn't going on.
When ultimately you turned back to these issues and that Chris Wilson check was found,
Did that result in the uncovering of all of this?
It did.
Did that result in him losing his job at the law firm?
It did.
Where his family name had been a fixture there for decades?
Correct.
Did that result in him losing his license to practice law?
It did.
And the defense asked you that. Did that result in him facing a ton of criminal charges based on all of that?
Yes.
All of that was on the cusp of being uncovered, was it not?
Yes.
Was that on the cusp of being uncovered?
Yes.
Been answered. Any further exam?
Very briefly, Ms. Seconder, I mean, finding the Chris Wilson check was coincidental to your work on the forged account research, correct?
Yes, but as we uncovered the forge, we knew we had a problem.
I understand. And it was the forge issue that led to all of this.
It would have eventually been the issue if we'd requested Chris Wilson. Regrettably, that we did not in July, we would not have received the money because the money was not in there. We found that out later.
Well, we'll find out about that, but so the Chris Wilson issue is a one-off compared to all these other transactions that you brought here today, right?
That's right.
All right, thank you.
You may step down.
Thank you.
By June 2021, the walls were finally closing in. Gene Seckinger, the CFO at PMPED, had been tracking down missing fees from a case Murdaugh had worked with another attorney. $792,000 was unaccounted for. On the morning of June 7th, she confronted him about it. Murdaugh offered excuses, deflections, promises to sort out. But Seckinger and the other partners were growing suspicious. They had discovered that Murdaugh might be hiding funds in various banks, possibly putting money in his wife's name. The confrontation happened that morning. The murders happened that night. But that's not the focus of our investigation today. What matters for our purposes is what happened next in the financial crimes investigation. The murders bought Alex Murdaugh time. His law partners, concerned about his mental state after the loss of his wife and son, backed off their investigation into the missing money. As Gene Seckinger testified, we weren't going to go in there and harass him about money when we were worried about his mental state and the fact that his family had been taken from him. The reprieve wouldn't last long. By September 2021, PMPED resumed their investigation. And what they discovered would lead not just to Alex Murdaugh's arrest, but to the unraveling of a conspiracy that involved a banker, a fellow attorney, and a network of schemes that had been operating right under everyone's noses for over 20 years. Chris Wilson had been Alex Murdaugh's best friend since they were roommates in law school. They talked multiple times a day. Their families were close. They worked cases together, sharing fees and resources. Wilson trusted Murdaugh completely, until he discovered that trust had been weaponized against him. In early 2021, Wilson and Murdaugh worked together on a personal injury case that resulted in fees totaling around $5.5 million. Each attorney's share was approximately $792,000. In March 2021, Murdaugh asked Wilson to do something unusual. Write the checks for Murdaugh's portion directly to him personally rather than to his law firm. He said it was for structuring purposes to purchase annuities, and that his firm had approved it. Wilson, trusting his friend of 30-plus years, did as requested. Later, Murdaugh contacted Wilson again, saying he had messed up the fee structure and needed Wilson to rewrite the check to the law firm instead. Murdaugh wired back $600,000 but said he didn't have the full amount yet. So Wilson used $192,000 of his own money to cover the difference, fully expecting his best friend to pay him back. But Murdaugh never paid him back. In fact, the entire situation played a key role in Pimp's discovery that Murdaugh had been stealing from the firm. Those checks to Murdaugh, those restructured payments, they were all part of a scheme to divert money into his own accounts. Wilson spoke to Murdaugh on June 7th, 2021, the night of the tragic events. At 9:11 p.m., 9:20 p.m., and 9:53 p.m. Nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Murdaugh's voice was normal. There was no panic, no indication that anything was wrong. In one call, Wilson told Murdaugh he was working on a broken pool pump while watching The Bachelor with his wife. Just a casual conversation between best friends. Over Labor Day weekend 2021, Wilson learned from PMPED that Murdaugh had been stealing money for years. On September 4th, Wilson confronted his best friend face-to-face on the porch of Murdaugh's mother's house. And that's when Alex finally admitted the truth. He confessed to a 20-year addiction to opioids. He admitted to stealing from his law firm and clients. According to Wilson, Murdaugh broke down crying and said, "I messed a lot of people up. I messed a lot of people up." When Wilson asked about the $192,000 Murdaugh owed him, Murdaugh promised to make it right. He never did. The last communication Wilson received was a text message. "I'm so sorry for the havoc I created for you. I would do anything to make it right." Wilson testified that he felt shocked, betrayed, mad, numb. He didn't know how to feel. This was supposed to be his best friend. And now he was just another one of Alex Murdaugh's victims. But Alex Murdaugh didn't operate alone. The conspiracy required help, and he found it in people who were supposed to be serving the victims' interests. What you're about to learn is how deep this network of deception really went, and how many people turned a blind eye to protect a powerful family name. Ronnie Crosby, a close colleague who had worked alongside Murdaugh for years at the law firm, would provide testimony that revealed not just the extent of the theft, but the elaborate methods Murdaugh used to deceive even those closest to him. His words paint a picture of a man who manipulated everyone around him.
When I got out of court, I saw that I had missed communications from one of my partners, Mark Ball, and I called him, and he said, "We have a problem." And I was like, "What?" And he said, "You have to come now." And I said, "I'm just walking out of court. I need to go home and eat supper, and it's not on my way." And he didn't ever tell me what it was, but he said, "You have to come now." And I could tell the urgency, and so he told me where to meet him, and that would have been in Cummings, South Carolina, at my partner Danny Henderson's place, and which was not on my way home, but he was so insistent that I went there and met. When I got there, Danny and Mark were there waiting on me.
And ultimately, what was your discussion?
I was giving a folder that had paperwork in it, and that paperwork consisted of checks, both front and back, and I was asked to review them.
Were those the what's been called the fake forged checks?
I believe the fake forged checks, there was not all of them that Ms. Seckinger went over, but I believe that there was, I could probably call the names of most of them that were there. I know it was Anderson, Bush, Moore. There was probably about 5 or 6 of them, and I believe they had a copy of the Ferris check there too.
Ferris check?
Yes, and I'd sat for a minute and reviewed it. I think Danny said, "You're going to need a drink." And so...
Did you have a drink?
Yeah, ultimately more than one.
And what happened after that?
Well, they didn't tell me what was in it. They let me review it on my own. And I immediately said, this is bad. And my words then were that we have to terminate Alec. He cannot no longer practice with us. And that was within, I don't know how many minutes, but it was not a long period of time, because the way Jeannie had it laid out, it was clear what had happened and that this money had been stolen.
Did any of the partners go to confront Alec with this information that had been uncovered?
Yes, there was a meeting the following morning at Lee's house. I did not attend. I did not need to attend. I was still getting ready for trial. I had already decided where this was going, and They met, and then we, Danny and Randy, Alex's brother, went and met with Alec.
And what was your understanding of what the defendant said as a result of that?
That he admitted and said that he knew he was going to get caught at some point in time, and admitted to them.
Alex Murdaugh didn't operate alone. The conspiracy required help, and he found it in people who were supposed to be serving the victim's interests. Russell Laffitte was the CEO of Palmetto State Bank. He served as conservator or personal representative for numerous Murdaugh clients, collecting hundreds of thousands of dollars in fees. But instead of protecting these vulnerable clients' money, he helped Murdaugh steal it. Laffitte would distribute settlement funds for Murdaugh's benefit, including paying off personal loans and providing cash withdrawals. In November 2022, Laffitte was convicted on 6 federal charges for conspiracy to commit wire and bank fraud, wire fraud, and misapplication of bank funds. In August 2023, he was sentenced to 7 years in federal prison. Then, in October 2025, Laffitte was sentenced to an additional 8 years in state prison after pleading guilty to state felony charges including breach of trust, computer crimes, and conspiracy related to helping Murdaugh misappropriate hundreds of thousands of dollars from his clients. Cory Fleming was Alex Murdaugh's longtime, close personal friend, even a godfather to Paul Murdaugh. When Alex needed an attorney to represent the Satterfield family in their lawsuit against him, he turned to Fleming. Fleming never disclosed his close relationship with Murdaugh to the Satterfields. He helped facilitate the theft of over $4 million from Gloria Satterfield's sons. In one particularly egregious example, state authorities said Fleming took $8,000 from Pamela Pinckney's trust and used it to fly himself and Murdaugh to the College Baseball World Series in 2012. Fleming's law license was suspended as the allegations came to light, and he faced criminal charges for his role in the conspiracy. Former employees of the Murdaugh firm would testify about the elaborate instructions they received from Alex, including how he directed them to cash checks in ways that bypassed normal accounting procedures. This testimony reveals how Murdaugh had manipulated even the most routine financial transactions to serve his fraudulent schemes.
Tell us a little bit about what Alex would have you do.
If I needed to pick up court documents from different law firms or courthouses, driving depositions, cash checks, some of the things.
I'm sorry, you said cash checks?
That's correct.
He had you cash checks for him?
That's correct.
All right, well tell me, where would he send you to cash the checks?
Palmetto State Bank.
Okay. What were your instructions for that?
Cash a check.
And what would you do with the money?
Take it back to his office. And,
like cash?
right.
Is it in an envelope or are you just holding it?
It was in a Palmetto State envelope.
Okay. And you would take that envelope of cash and where would you bring it?
Back to his office.
Okay, and just hand it to him.
That's correct.
How many times did he have you cash checks like that?
Very frequently.
Very frequent?
That's correct.
Many times?
Many times.
Was there ever a time when you cashed that check and there was a room full of, has there ever been a time where you cashed the check, brought it back to Alex's office, and there was someone in his office?
That's correct.
Multiple people, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Tell us who those folks were that you would have been there when Alex is sending you to get cash, you're coming back with the cash, and there's someone sitting in his office.
There was different occasions. One particular occasion was Greg Alexander.
Who's he?
I believe he's the chief of police for the embassy.
Okay.
Cory Fleming.
Do you know Cory Fleming?
I do.
What is he? What did he do?
He was an attorney as well.
Okay.
And Alex's best friend.
Okay. And who else?
And Chris Wilson.
And do you know who Chris Wilson is?
I do.
Who is he?
He's an attorney in Bamberg, I believe.
When did Alex stop asking you to cash checks? What was the time frame?
I believe it was a few weeks before the murders. So
A few weeks, you've been doing this a lot, and a few weeks before the murder, he asked...
Alex Murdaugh's brother would provide testimony that painted a picture of a man whose addiction had consumed him. The testimony described a frantic drive to a detox facility during which Alex's withdrawal symptoms became so severe that he lost control of his bodily functions. Yet even as this testimony aimed to humanize Murdaugh and support his addiction defense, questions remained about where millions of stolen dollars had actually gone.
Can you describe for the jury Alex's condition, like physical condition in the car?
Yes, sir. So when I met Randy over in Savannah, he had Alec, and I got in the car, or Randy's truck with him. I'd never seen anything like it. I've seen television shows of talking about the leg twitching and the squirminess, if you will, and that's the first thing I mean, you could just tell he was sweating. He was thrashing about. Jim,
Did he turn
I don't know
around?
how much detail you want me to go into.
What, did he turn around on the seat of the car, and what was he doing?
Yeah, so maybe halfway there, at one point, he had taken his seatbelt off, and he had his head down where your fanny would be in the seat, and is trying to stretch his legs and just kind of steady, just like thrashing them and kicking them. It's just, again, I've seen TV, but I've never seen something like this in real life.
And was he able to control himself?
No, sir. I said about detail. So he messed himself. He had diarrhea. He just couldn't control it.
And then...
and I say diarrhea, I'm not talking about at a restaurant.
Perhaps one of the most chilling pieces of evidence came from a jailhouse phone call between Alex and his surviving son, Buster. In a recording, Murdaugh could be heard laughing and joking about the very crimes that had destroyed so many lives. The call would raise serious questions about whether Murdaugh truly understood the gravity of what he had done or felt any genuine remorse for his victims.
I knew people would talk, but I'm way past worrying about what people that don't matter say. There's so many people that they don't have a freaking clue.
Well, it's easier for you. You don't run into these people in public.
Which people?
Any people that has a negative outlook on this thing.
Well, do you know who they are?
I mean, nah, man, but I get stopped and yelled at all the time. I got cussed out in the gas station the other day.
You kidding?
Nah.
So what?
Being who I am, I guess.
Who was it?
Yeah, and so I don't know who he is. Some redneck fella.
And what did he say?
He just started making a ruckus in the gas station, yelling at me, talking about WTOC's looking for me, and called me a piece of shit and just stuff like that. Just crazy stuff.
I'm sorry, as I can be.
Okay. I don't really talk. Not really talk to him. I just kind of escape the situation.
WTOC. I mean, what the does he know about WTOC?
Man, apparently he said he saw something on the news where they said that people are looking for me, or someone's. I don't know what he said. I mean, it's not like I sat there and asked any questions. I mean, I understand that you've done illegal, but that doesn't mean you can just, turn a cold shoulder to the laws of the United States.
I've allegedly done illegal stuff. I'm kidding. Anyway,
Standing before Judge Newman, Alex Murdaugh would enter his guilty pleas to state financial crimes. But for many watching, the question remained, was this genuine remorse, or simply another performance from a man who had spent decades deceiving everyone around him?
Mr. Murdaugh, you've heard what Mr. Waters has stated. Do you agree with the statements he has made?
Yes, sir.
And do you wish to withdraw your formally entered plea of not guilty and plead guilty to each and every one of these charges?
I do.
You, your lawyer, and the prosecutor have negotiated a sentence in this matter that's been recited by Mr. Waters. Is that right?
Yes, sir.
And where there's a negotiated sentence, either I will accept the plea, guilty plea, and give you the exact sentence that you, your lawyer, and the prosecutor have negotiated, or I will not accept your guilty plea. Do you understand that?
I do, yes, sir.
And would you like for me to accept the guilty plea and impose the negotiated sentence?
Yes, sir, I would.
And because these cases, various counts are venued in various counties, Orangeburg County, Hampton County, Colleton County, Bamberg County, Allendale County, I think that in addition to Beaufort, do you wish to waive venue from those counties to have the case heard here in Beaufort?
I do.
Is there any question in your mind as to whether or not you wish to proceed with this guilty plea?
No, sir, there's no question in my mind.
Do you believe you've had enough time to think about it?
Yes, sir, I do.
Are
Had a
you
long
set?
time to think about it.
I can imagine. Do you believe that you've had effective representation by Mr. Harpootlian and Mr. Griffin?
Absolutely.
Now, this plea agreement includes a provision providing for a waiver of appeal and waiver of filing any post-conviction relief, as well as ordering restitution. You have reviewed those provisions and are fully informed and agree with those provisions.
I am, yes, sir.
Under the Victim's Bill of Rights, the court must ensure that the victim's Bill of Rights have been complied with. The state is well aware of that, as well as your lawyers. And the victims have the right to be heard prior to the official imposition of any sentence or the official acceptance of a guilty plea. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
And so it's the intent of the court, assuming a factual basis is established by Mr. Waters or Mr. James, that the court will accept this guilty plea contingent upon the victim's Bill of Rights being satisfied. Therefore, any sentencing will take place at a subsequent hearing, which will be on November 28th at 10 o'clock. Do you understand that?
It'll be when, sir?
November 28th.
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, Tuesday.
I understood it wouldn't be today. Yes, sir. I understand that.
All right. And understanding all that has been stated up to this point, how do you plead?
I plead guilty, Your Honor.
All right. Thank you. You can be seated, and we'll hear from Mr. Waters.
Alex Murdaugh was indicted on over 100 criminal charges related to his financial crimes. He pleaded guilty to 22 federal charges and multiple state charges, admitting to engaging in schemes to defraud his personal injury clients, his law firm, and others. In yet another courtroom appearance, Murdaugh would tell the judge that he was fully committed to becoming a better person while incarcerated. He spoke of his desire to make amends and his understanding of the pain he had caused. But for the victims watching, these words rang hollow compared to the decades of manipulation and theft that had brought them to this moment.
Last thing I want to say, Your Honor, is that I am fully committed to trying to be a better person. I'm going to do as much good as possible and help as many people as I can while I'm incarcerated. I remain fully and wholeheartedly committed to finding a way to somehow make those who love me proud again in some small way. I appreciate each of you talking to me. I appreciate each of you looking at me while I'm talking to you. I can tell that you're listening, and I appreciate it. I'm going to say one more time, I hope you know, I hope you believe that it's heartfelt. And the two things that I hope you take away today are, number one, that I care about you, and number two, that I hate the things that I did, and I am so sorry. And Your Honor, I thank you for letting me address you and for letting me address the victims. Thank you so much.
Sir.
In November 2023, Murdaugh was sentenced to 27 years in prison for state financial crimes. Then, in April 2024, U.S. District Court Judge Richard Gergel sentenced him to 40 years in federal prison, significantly exceeding the prosecutor's recommendation of 30 years. The judge cited the staggering human toll of Murdaugh's crimes and his repeated targeting of the most vulnerable people who were injured, sick, or grieving. They placed all of their problems and their hope in him, Judge Gergel said, referring to Murdaugh's clients. And it was from those people he abused and stole. The court ordered Murdaugh to pay $8,762,731.88 in restitution to his victims. But money, as many victims testified, couldn't truly compensate for what they had lost. The final devastating testimony would come from Jordan Jinks, another longtime friend of Alex Murdaugh, who had hired him after being injured in a car crash. Jinks's emotional words to the court, asking what kind of animal Murdaugh was, captured the profound sense of betrayal felt by so many. His statement would be one of the most powerful moments of the entire sentencing hearing.
Evening, Your Honor.
Hello.
First of all, I want to say I duly respect your job in this entire case. I admire what you did.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Alex. I've been waiting on this day. I've been waiting on this day to look in your eyes. I wanted to sit down with you one-on-one when I found out what you did. I just want to know why. I can sit here all, excuse me. unlike a lot of these people here, these victims, I got a lot of intimate stuff that I could say. You remember all those wildlife hunts I had for law enforcement? Your entire family was the guest of honor. Mr. Buster, Judge Eldroff insisted on me taking care of them for the day. You don't know how many brownie points you got in my life from just that. I trusted you with everything. I knew I was going to break. I knew it.
Mr. Bland, can you reposition his mic so I can understand?
I knew I was going to break. Excuse me, I knew I was going to break. But I got some notes here. I don't even know if I can go through. Our family got a deep relationship, man. You remember making a comment to me after I found out, after we discussed the possible amount this lawsuit was worth, and you made a comment to me, and you said, don't spend all this money foolishly. Tell me what you did with $20 million that you stole. Part of it being mine. And you know, I'm sitting there crying. I want everybody to know, Judge, I need you to know. I'm not crying because of what he stole from me. I'm crying for what he did to everybody in the suit. These kids, these people dying. I didn't want to come up here and bash you, but I gotta ask you, what kind of animal are you? I can't even go over my notes. I'm not here to be your judge. Ultimately, that belongs to the good Lord and Savior. But may He have mercy on your soul. I didn't want to see you. When I saw you on TV in an orange jumpsuit, it hurt me. Still wasn't mad at you. But this judicial system put together a system to deal with people that make bad choices. And my friend, you chose to make the choice you made. So I need the judge to know that I am full favor. I am in full favor of the court's recommendation for the 27 years. I can go back to us going to mediation. That you affected my wife. You chose to have Maggie deal with us those 2 days we were in Charleston in mediation. She catered to us hand and foot. You told me where to go and check into my room. We did. From that point, we never drove another foot. Neither did you. Maggie drove us everywhere we went. When all this came about, Paul, and Maggie, I couldn't believe it. I didn't believe it. But after sitting here today and hearing some of the devious things that you did to people, these victims here, changed my mind, bro. Once again, I ask you, what kind of animal are you? Boy, I gave you my all. I would do. The money you stole from me, you could have asked me for it and I would have gave it to you if that's how I felt about you and your family. You didn't have to steal it from me, man. And I still, if there's any way possible, you set it up. for me to be on your visitation list. I want to sit down with you. I want to look you in your eyes and talk to you when I can really talk to you. We got some intimate things we can talk about.
I would like that.
But why, bro? Why? Such a talent. Do you know what you just threw away? You know how talented you are? I don't understand. Mr. Harpoonian, nothing to do with you, but you made a comment earlier about the attorneys trying to sell bobbleheads and cups. Can you represent this man to sell those bobbleheads and cups to repay the victims that he stole from? Thank you.
Pamela Pinckney spoke at Murdaugh's sentencing. It's not about the money, she said. It's about what we lost. I lost my son, and that will never be replaced. If I could have anything in this world, it would be my son over money or any materialistic thing on this earth. The moment of sentencing would bring some measure of accountability, but for many victims, no sentence could truly make them whole. As the judge pronounced the sentence, the courtroom was filled with both relief and a lingering pain of betrayal that would never fully heal. Judge Gergel explained that his harsh sentence was meant to send a clear message to all lawyers who steal from their clients in South Carolina and across America. He dismissed Murdaugh's attempts to blame his addiction, stating that no truly impaired person could have pulled off crimes of this complexity. The federal sentences will run concurrently with the 27 years Murdaugh received in state court, meaning he'll serve 40 years total for his financial crimes. And that doesn't even include the 2 consecutive life sentences without parole he received in March 2023 for other charges. Alex Murdaugh, barring successful appeals, will spend the rest of his life in prison. His appeal for a new trial based on allegations of jury tampering was denied in January 2024. As of October 2025, legal briefs have been filed with the South Carolina Supreme Court, but it's unclear when they will consider his case. The state filed their response brief in August 2025, and Murdaugh's team filed their reply in September 2025. The case of Alex Murdaugh's financial crimes is a stark reminder that trust is sacred, and when it's betrayed, the damage extends far beyond money. It's about stolen hope, stolen dignity, and stolen justice. But it's also about the power of truth and the resilience of the human spirit. If you found this investigation valuable, if these stories moved you, if you believe in holding the powerful accountable, then subscribe to Dark Trail Files right now. We're committed to bringing you in-depth investigations into cases that matter, stories that expose the truth behind closed courtroom doors, and evidence that mainstream media often overlooks. Hit that subscribe button, turn on notifications, and join our community of truth seekers. Because cases like this remind us why independent, thorough investigative reporting matters. The victims in this case deserved better from the system that was supposed to protect them. The least we can do is make sure their stories are heard. This is Dark Trail Files, and we're just getting started. Thank you for watching, and remember, in the pursuit of truth, no one is untouchable.